friends. I'm Karyn, and this is the Family Food for Moms podcast. We're talking about inspiration for family cooking and dining. In this episode, we're going to be talking about more ways to make your dining table special. Last time I mentioned 5 things. We talked about underplates, decorative underplates like gold or plastic with gold edging, all kinds of ones that you get. We talked about lighting on the table or twinkle lights above the table. We mentioned folding napkins, decorative napkins to place on the main plate or next to the plate. Then we talked about personalized place names or messages for each person and music for ambience. If you want to listen more in detail, that's episode 3 where I talk about those. So for today, let's consider more ways to make our dining table special for a meal. So we've mentioned underplates and napkins folded decoratively for the table, but we haven't really talked about the full spectrum of elegant tableware. So that really is the foundation for decorating your table. I love to use silver or white or off-white tablecloths that you can add a whole lot of different things to. And they can complement your napkins and your underplates. And then perhaps white plates are the most diverse for putting on top of those things. It's also beautiful to have a white tablecloth with a gold overlay along the length of the table, or 2 widthwise, or perhaps just a triangular piece in the middle of the table over the original tablecloth. So mixing and matching all of those things is very elegant. So we lay the table, possibly a runner, and then the underplates, then all the plates and other crockery, and then decorate. So we've mentioned candles, whether you like to use real candles or battery operated candles or beeswax candles. Then you can add any kind of greenery. Something that's really beautiful is a centerpiece with fresh flowers. So you can just put a simple vase of flowers, or you can use a flower arranging piece that you stick the flowers into, and the greenery, things like ivy, anything that looks nice. So those really add something special. And then even sometimes mats, you get hard mats, decorated mats, or soft mats, perhaps even instead of the tablecloth. If you have a beautiful wooden or glass table that you want to show off, just putting simple mats can look beautiful. So the more different things that you put together, I think, the better the end result, as long as they are coordinated and kind of match each other. I love to put different shapes of things like a decorative ball, or maybe a tall silver candlestick with a candle on top. Another nice thing to use are inverted or upside down glasses. You take a wine glass maybe with a stem, and you turn it upside down, and then you can put something inside the main part of the glass. So you can put a flower like a rose, you can put a pine cone or some pretty leaves, and then the roundness of the glass kind of magnifies that. And then on the top, which is actually the base of the glass when it's inverted, is you can put a candle. It's a lovely place to stand a candle. So on top of that, glasses are a lovely way to make the table look special. Using more than one glass, obviously doing this every day would mean a lot more washing up, so we don't want to do that. But for special meals, we like to have more than one glass, one perhaps for water and one for your drink. So then different heights of glasses are stunning, like tall glasses plus a lower glass, 2 different shapes. That really looks very beautiful. It's also cute to add elegant salt shakers, or perhaps olive oil and balsamic vinegar in jars. the kind of things you use often. The place you hold your napkins. If you're not doing napkin folding for a particular meal, you can have an elegant napkin holder on the table. Or pretty napkin rings. You can even make some of these. The kids can get involved if they'd like to make elegant napkin holders. But you can also just have individual napkin rings, one for each person. If you use cloth napkins regularly, then it's easy to know whose is whose. We've got some old napkin rings inherited from grandparents, which have got the dates engraved on them and the initials or the names on the silver. So those are very elegant. All these personal touches make things extra special, just the way that you like them. Sometimes for a special meal, we could put photo frames on the table showing people that we are celebrating or remembering. Then there's also seasonal decor, which would be relevant to the particular season you're in. If it's fall, then little pumpkins and pumpkin patch leaves. Anything that matches with what you like to do in that season. Springtime would be blossoms, lots of fresh flowers, lots of color. Summer may be bright yellow and sunflowers. Winter may be muted tones with more greenery. I love to use the different things that I keep in our, what we call our sideboard. So in there we've got strings of fairy lights, and we've got the jars with fairy lights inside that light up. Then we've got the different kinds of colored candles that I mentioned before, battery-powered candles. We've got different candle holders and different long candles, dinner candles, which often I'll put up as a decoration without lighting them, because then they'll last, and the toxic fumes from the candle are not what we want. But the beautiful dinner candles are always lovely. Then we've got different kinds of little flower candle holders. We've got different shapes of little bowls and things that can go, for the main part of the table, not for the individuals. So like a windy bowl that we put olives and nuts in, or a bowl that's sectioned into 3 different heart shapes that we can put dips and sauces in. And then, of course, your serving spoons and forks and things can also be decorative and can go on the table, or perhaps they go on a side tray. And then, of course, your cutlery. We mentioned gold knives and forks that I love to use. All of those things can make a beautiful difference. So sometimes we'll use the gold cutlery, sometimes we'll use the silver decorated cutlery, sometimes we'll use Chinese style implements like chopsticks, black chopsticks, and maybe white Chinese soup spoons that are unique. For a fondue, we would use fondue forks. For a steak or a meal of ribs, we would use steak knives. And I love to have these things, to collect these things and to ask for them as birthday gifts, to just expand my repertoire of creative things for the table. So sometimes you're feeling tired and not into cooking, but you still want to do a special meal. So you can definitely make it more special with the table setting. So say we're getting Chinese takeout, then serve it in courses using beautiful things on the table. So maybe you have soup bowls for a Chinese noodle soup or a corn soup, and then side plates for some sushi, some chopsticks for the sweet and sour chicken with rice, and then the table setting in the relaxed mood, having the Chinese style implements and eating it slowly in courses just helps it to become a much more special time, and a time when you can connect as a family, and when mom and dad can really relax and unwind, where it's a slow meal and it's not rushed at all. The same thing with different takeout. Perhaps you can order things again that you can use in different courses, like you can start with the vegetables, and then you can have the main, the steak, and then a little dessert. Not a huge amount of work for mom or dad, but still a delicious and uplifting meal and time together. Something else that's fun to do now and then is to have a sorbet between the starter and the main course, like in a fancy restaurant. So you just need to find some tiny cups and grab some sorbet from the freezer. Lemon, lychee, or mango sorbet are delicious. And then just serve everybody a little bit with a teaspoon, with an elegant teaspoon. One of your children can carry the tray around and hand out the sorbet. And it truly does cleanse the palate for the next course and make it even more delicious. Another fun thing to do is to put a little elegant chocolate at each place setting, or even a little around Christmas time especially. You can use British crackers, which are the crackers that you pull and they make a bang. It's lovely to have those at each table and at each place. And sometimes you get really tiny ones that are extra fun to put around at the dinner table, and they look so elegant. Oh, by the way, when I say underplates, those are also known as chargers, the different colors of plates that you can put under your dinner plate as an extra layer. Something else that looks lovely is to use silver platters or white platters that match your dinner service in the middle of the table to serve the food from, using elegant serving spoons. It's always tempting for me to just leave all the food in its container in the kitchen and have people serve themselves from there. But sometimes it's lovely to put things on the table. The other thing that works well on the table is a charcuterie board. If you have a big wooden board that you can place a whole lot of cold meats and cheeses and olives and fruit, that's also a big hit, and it looks lovely on the table. Sometimes it's possible to deconstruct your dinner. Perhaps you're having burgers, but you want it to look elegant, so then you can lay them on platters. The burger patties on one, the slices of tomato, cucumber, cheese slices, and then different sauces in elegant bowls or on plates. Anything that looks good on the table. It's lovely to have a color palette for the table of coordinated colors like red and silver or green and gold, or whatever works for you, what you love. Do what you love. It also looks beautiful to use little glass bowls or something elegant for the starter so that you can have that out already. So say you have a charger plate or underplate, then you have a white dinner plate, then you have a napkin folded in an elegant way, and on top of that you would have the little glass bowl with perhaps shrimp cocktail or slices of melon in it, something that adds to the beauty and that's ready to eat. When you're doing your centerpiece and you have flowers, you can also complement it by adding flowers to the napkins on the plates. So perhaps you have your dinner plate and then your side plate on top of that with an elegant napkin tied and some rosemary and little flower inserted into the napkin. Perhaps your main tablecloth and your plates are white, then you can add pops of color with a few berries or a few pretty flowers inside or next to each place setting. And the napkins, you can really do so much with them besides folding them. Sometimes we'll fold them into like a rose or a shirt, like we mentioned in the previous episode. You can see the videos, by the way, of how to fold those on our website, which is familyfoodformoms.com, and it will be in the blog post for episode number 3. You can watch those videos. But also what you can do with your napkins are simply insert them, roll them up and insert them in your glasses. Gives you a nice height difference, and the different levels always make the table look so good. Or you can simply drape the napkin from underneath the bowl or the side plate down over the edge of the table. This will look lovely, especially if it's a different color. And then lastly, something that's a very different mood to what we've been speaking about with all the elegance is to do something really fun and to cover the table, instead of a tablecloth, cover the table with brown paper or white craft paper, and then give each guest a couple of colored crayons or markers that they can draw with and write with. Then people can write quotes, they can write poetry, they can draw, they can play noughts and crosses with their neighbors and just go wild. Fun drawings, cartoon style, anything. And it really, sometimes you could do an elegant one where everybody draws flowers and roses and writes poetry. And it's such a good way to relax together and to just make the dinner time memorable and to form good family connections while you eat. I know it's a time when there's high inflation and food prices are just crazy expensive. And it's also a season in a mom's life where it's extra hectic when our children are at home. Maybe we homeschool or we take our kids to school and back, and there's never much time. And so it's easy to dismiss these things and think, well, I don't have the time or I don't have the money. But I think it's all the more reason to celebrate life and to do these things because it brings us such joy and family closeness. It helps us as moms to really be refreshed in the evenings, and the whole family can be refreshed through these kinds of events. And the decorating doesn't need to be expensive. As I said, you collect things over time, perhaps as birthday gifts, but also just using simple things, whatever you can find or from your garden, can really be lovely. So just to encourage you to try and do it in a way that fits in with you in the season that you're in. I also wanted to mention my Family Food for Moms book that will be coming out not for a while, but in about 6 months. And it's going to have all of these kinds of articles in it with lots of beautiful pictures and ideas for how you can do everything from family fun nights to elegant meals to many of the things that we've talked about on the podcast. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening. See you next time.